Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pre-recorded session for the week of March 29th through April 1st. You guys, I posted the last week on here as well, along with the extension of the rest of the calendar for the semester. Your Dropbox is open for the draft 1 on here. This at the top on the banner says the class is English 1060-R1503. This video is going to be covering both R1503 and R1504. So both the 10 a.m. section of English 1060 and the 6 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursdays of mine. So you guys run pretty much tandem in terms of all the things you're working on as opposed to my other classes. So I'm going to keep it on the banner here for the 1503. It's, as I said, applies to both classes. A quick word on feedback. I'm doing what I can to give as much feedback as I can, but most of the things, guys, right now, as I said before, will be just credit on those different files that you're submitting until we get into the drafting stages starting next week. So the weekend of the 8th, after we get through next week, and we've had a discussion face-to-face again next not this Thursday, but next Thursday, not April 1st, but here on April 8th. Have most of those things back and have all the additional things on some more of the sentence level stuff. I do want you to continue to pursue that tutoring session feedback. There are still several students who haven't done it once, particularly those that I've recommended several times to be utilizing it during the drafting stages. Get caught up with those now. You know, during this time frame when these things are kind of piling up at the end of the term. I want to remind you that you know, some of the things moving forward. Now it will seem a little bit quicker perhaps, but because you've done these stages before, right? You've gone through the pre-writing, outline, drafting, revising. So I'm working on making sure those are posted as quick as I can. You know, I have about half of the class's things back, and hopefully the rest by next Tuesday to Friday. I know that I have a couple of you that are still working on late assignment things, so it's kind of throwing me as to where exactly I am in it. I went ahead and posted this up that I want to draw your attention to for next week, which is something we'll touch on again once I'm back from the meetings. I'm going to be gone all day this day, and then I have meetings on Friday and on Monday and I think Tuesday. So it's going to be a little bit of a weird weekend here at the end of the term. I'll try and communicate with you guys if I can on email, but I'll only be checking in like once a day on those the Monday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, only once on each one of those days. So, but we will reconvene with our normal stuff here. So on this posting for the 6th next week, all reading journal late assignments for essays 1 and 2 and the reading journal work are accepted for late credit starting on the 6th. That's a partial credit for the next week, for this week of 4/6 to 4/13 until 11:30 p.m. on the 13th. So all that late stuff's got to be due here on this Tuesday, 13th of April. Any student submitting late work must email me to verify submission of each late assignment. Do not forget to include your class, day, and time and the name of the assignment being submitted. Now, if you submit 2 at once, obviously you can put both of them in that email as long as you actually tell me exactly what they are. Do not forget your name. Do not forget the class and the day and time that you meet. Remember, just in this, I have 2 alone that meet the same exact time that are on the same pace with assignments, and then I have 2 others that are just slightly off from you guys. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to allow for that entire week late submissions for partial credit. If you already are jumping for joy over this, then start preparing that material, but don't submit it until this week. I won't be ready for it until that time anyways. Okay, I'm still reeling a little bit on this grading schedule from getting caught up with a few of you guys, not anymore dealing really with my COVID stuff, but with so many of my students who have now had illnesses and kids who are sick and work-related issues, trying to get them caught up. So this has kind of put a little bit of a spin on that. So this week, go through this material. This whole announcement video won't be too long because you guys are moving through just another common stage here. So note that this weekend the outline for the Essay 2 was due. Between pre-writing and outlining, I'm through over half of my classes on these. So you should have gotten feedback on one or the other, at least grade posting, letting you know whether or not you were on or off on those. I'm trying to, if you're far off, I was trying to make notation to give you some specifics about what was off there. But just keep in mind, guys, the majority of things are still general to specific intros, weird phrasing of your topic sentences, and then some of the new ones that I saw in outlining were when you guys are making statements, make sure the terminology you're using, make sure you actually understand it. I know some students like to try and see my examples and then use synonym search and revise. That's not how you reword things. You have to assimilate. You have to actually make sure you understand what the statement is that's being presented to you, and the terminology therein, that you understand the actual definitions. Don't just do synonym search. Some of the synonym search stuff that I saw this whole last week and a half was really bad. I mean, terminology that doesn't mean anything near what you think it means in the way that you're putting it in there in that content or in that context. It makes it completely confusing for the reader. So work on those. The other thing is, make sure that your actual examples and quotes that you're using are representative of exactly what you're talking about in that body paragraph. Some of you don't seem to notice that you are giving quotes that do not even defend the statements you're making. You know, I had one with something on racism, and two of the quotes used in the body paragraph on racism do not even mention it. I can't even discern what the actual defense of the claim being made there is. Remember, with the quotes, you have to go intro quote, give quote, and then defend and explain quote, all in full statements. So that doesn't work if you're actually using material from the book out of context and it's not supporting your ideas. So be very careful with those. So let me go through this so that I'm not just chattering at you guys without pointing your arrows in specific directions here. So for Tuesday this week, there is a supplemental reading. This article in here about inequality in post-apartheid South Africa, I think a lot of you will really like. Sets a good, gets a little bit of additional information outside of just Trevor Noah's narrative on there, giving you an understanding of what it's like in that post-apartheid South Africa. You guys will recognize a lot of the information from the book. It's a good way to refamiliarize yourself with those ideas too. Do not make the mistake of thinking you now cite this in your paper. This is not something that goes in there. This is for context only. We'll be discussing this one the following week. Reading journals, complete chart 7. That's the final one. Review the Dropbox information instructions for Essay 2, Draft 1. We're going to have the intro and body 1. Begin organizing materials for from your outline for the Draft 1, the intro and body 1. So essentially, guys, if you had your intro in general to specific order and you got your scores back and you were 22, 23 or higher, whatever else, you're ready to move on into drafting. Just make sure you check commentary on there. Some of you still a bit off in the your topic section of the intro paragraph, and some of you actually had a couple of phrasing issues in the example you were giving. Two people in between the two classes, I only had one in each class that had a thesis that was not sufficient for it that I saw so far. So make sure you're double checking those, and again, get through tutoring sessions. So the pre-recorded session, be sure to complete for tonight for the first. Be sure to complete chart 7 of the reading journals and review this pre-recorded video. For students who are behind, use this time to get caught up on reading journals and annotations because they are going to be due the following week. This weekend's homework: complete and submit Essay 2, Common Essay, Draft 1, the intro and body 1 by 11:30 on Monday. I'm going to keep everything on till Monday, all the way up until the last week when we're going to be doing reflective letter at the same time as finalizing these papers, because note, the last day of class will be the last day anything is allowed to be submitting. You'll be submitting both the final draft of the reflective letter and then you'll be just doing the reflective letter on there, and anything that is post that you and I have discussed, reflective letter or anything else, nothing can be submitted to me past the 29th. It has to be into me prior to this. The last assignment thing that I'm taking on this date is this one. Everything else I'm going to insist be in by the Sunday following the 22nd. So that will be on the 25th of April. That'll be the rough draft, and anything else for the course, because I have to have, this is the 29th is the final day of class, and I have 48 hours to get all final grades posted from that date, which means like Saturday afternoon. So I need everything in a few days prior so that I can give full credit and actually be able to make sure that anything left over with your guys' rewrites and your missing work, late work that we've discussed and things like that is all in. Okay, so back on here, and I know, guys, some of this stuff, any questions you got on these things, if it can wait until the 8th here where we can discuss it in person, write them down. You know, if you send me emails, it's going to be a little bit spotty over the next couple of days just because the amount of the meetings that I kind of have at the end of the term here. The completing of this Essay 2 draft 1, let's take a look at the Dropbox very briefly together. This is pretty staple for you guys now. I included all the materials again in here, the outline and pre-writing and the rubric. MLA Basics for all Purdue. You can click on that, and it's another overview of those basics, but you guys all, from what I could tell, pretty much had everything formatted already. Remember that MLA applies to the entire document. You can always go back to your home page and instructional links and just take the download of the MLA formatted document. Start there if you need to. Otherwise, remember it's Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spacing, last name and page number, heading info in the upper hand left, correctly formatted, a center title, all those different things that go into our MLA formatting. This rough draft requires a general to specific intro paragraph that ends in a thesis, body paragraph 1 that begins with a topic sentence, bodies 2, 3, and the conclusion will be added for the next draft. We will also be finalizing that same thing, so most of you guys will be ready to submit a final draft right after you're done with draft 2. The draft must be at least 1.5 pages if the heading were removed. That means the entire intro paragraph along with body 1 should constitute 1.5 pages if that part with your first and last name in the upper left, that heading info. The heading info is your first and last name, then the professor, then the class, then the date, right? If that were removed, do you reach 1.5 pages? That's 13, 14 lines into page 2 if it's Times New Roman 12-point font. Now, quick reminder on this. Some of you guys are stepping into this just a little bit. No block quotes. Some of you are getting way too long with those. Try and keep them at 3 lines or less of a paragraph. No quote should be longer than 4 lines of any paragraph at any time, unless it's going to be formatted into a block quote, and this paper does not allow for those. This paper is too short for block quoting, and they are not used when students are required to provide this extent of direct support from the book, particularly in this short of a paper. The final draft of the common essay will include the intro, the 3 bodies, and a conclusion, and the final draft will be a minimum of 3.5 pages. These resources again are provided here, and then once again, guys, it goes through the basic staples, the general to specific intro, the body paragraph formations and topic sentences. It includes further examples again, another example of some of the breakdown for the intro paragraph with the thesis, body paragraph support, talking about following the topic sentence. The paragraph must include examples from the book that prove and explain the presence of the theme that was introduced throughout the topic sentence. There were 8 required from the pre-reading outline. There must be at least 5 direct examples in each body paragraph. So at least 5 of those from those 8 claims that you made, pointing out at least 5 distinctly different examples from the book. The support of direct quotes. Additionally, at least 3 of those examples must be supported by direct quotes. Those direct quotes must follow both the MLA and quote format, intro quote full statement, give quote full statement, explain or defend quote guidelines. If you still do not know what these requirements include, it is time to go back and review those instructions. I have examples of these things listed here, guys, but I'm not going to continue to do it over and over and over again. Some of you need to go back and review these things in those instructional guidelines. Now it's been on everything through draft 1 and now into draft 2. Essay 1 and now into Essay 2. The only addition being the body paragraph support of direct quotes. Okay? So again, anytime you've made one of these claims, if you're going to use these 5 claims from here, 3 of them have to have direct quotes that give the claim statement, followed by a for instance in the book it states, and give the quote itself from the book in quotation marks, followed by the in-text citation, and then your defense or explanation, right? The prior quote or this quote explains, this quote proves, this quote defends, whatever your statement phrasing is going to be, and follow that out so that it proves or explains to your reader what that quote was showing for the context of that theme. Okay? So I hope this is explanatory enough, guys. I look forward to seeing the drafts. I will be looking forward also to seeing your faces again next week. Apologies for this one, little break in this. It was a little unexpected on my end too, but I will see you guys in a week. Happy writing, and we'll talk soon.